Welcome to Wine Jam News with me, Sam Cash, your weekly wine news Friday at 8 p.m. Quick summary of the week's news, so please click the bell down below and subscribe when you guys have a chance. First up in the piece of news, Governor Roy Cooper on Wednesday signed a bill into law that allows legal beer and wine sales at campus sporting events throughout the UNC system. This allows the signature from Cooper to make the final steps for alcohol sales to be made in college stadiums. If you think of like the college football teams, even college basketball teams, those kind of big matches that college state teams have, they're drawing quite a bit of crowds, so they're all seeing this as quite a big profit to go into their particular universities and colleges. I should say colleges really. Yes, I think it's more of a win-win situation, but to have I don't know if it needs to, if they really should be promoting alcohol alongside sort of athletics as such, but hey ho, all right, so that's what they're doing over there. In further news, in the US, the US Supreme Court judges ruled this week that Tennessee state officials had unfairly discriminated against out-of-state wine retailers by requiring them to stay within their state for 2 years in order for them to start selling wines. The Supreme Court decided 7-2 against Tennessee retail wines and spirit residency laws, which means it opens shops up to the state to not have to live in Tennessee for a stated period of time. The rights to wines being shipped across the state is still the same, but this is kind of big news as such. It means that the idea of wines being able to be sort of transported in different sort of states is better, and it means it opens up the market to wine lovers more. So yeah, it's big news. It's actually really big news. In further news, Wine Calling, a French film about the rise of natural wine movement in the country's southwest Océan region of France, is quite an interesting movie, with one critic stating that it's a bit of a hangover in the beginning of it, but it's interesting that it's also been crowdfunded to make this film happen. Take a look. We don't get that many wine films around, but yeah, Wine Calling. Yeah, check it out. Tell me what you think down below. In further news, back in the US, the first US Sustainable Wine Growing Summit took place in California this month, with the summit having a particular highlight of the sustainability in wines. Is it of bigger concern than organic? And on this particular survey of 2,000 regular US wine consumers, which had 3 domestic focus groups and surveys in Canada, Sweden and the UK, whether they kind of saw sustainability as more important than organic, with sustainability seen as more important. It's interesting. Obviously, this is the Sustainable Wine Growing Summit, so they sort of pushing a particular survey like this. Yeah, it's a bit biased in my opinion, maybe, just maybe. But anyways, I think the highlight point of this is that it's the first Sustainable Wine Growing Summit, and that's great that it's happening. And we move away from the US to their other friends, the Russians. Yay! The Russian authority are taking steps towards banning Georgian wines amid a escalation in tensions between the ex-Soviet neighbours over the past week. The Common Sense Business Daily reported on Wednesday violent protesters erupted in Georgia's capital last week after a Russian lawmaker addressed the Georgian parliament in a Russian speaking role in the speaker's chair. So that's what's kicked it off, really. So the Russians are kind of looking at their retail outlets and how much Georgian wines in there, so they believe that there's a ban coming in soon. So this is kind of a big effect to Georgian wine exports. They do export a lot to Russia, so we will see what happens next. Australian bank ANZ chief executive by the name of Hisco ran up $400,000 of expenses, on business expenses, mind you, on wine and chauffeurs. Yeah, it's a weird pairing, that, isn't it? It apparently had a blind spot when it came to tagging personal expenses instead of business expenses. This included spending $50,000 on a personal chauffeur service, as well as a company paying to store his wine collection in Australia. Now, for me personally, I just want to find out what his collection was. So, just comment below. It'd be great to. Further news, we go back to the Americas, and we go to Mexico City, where they're going through a new natural wine culture. It's still pretty small, but there seems to be a growing trend for natural wine in Mexico City, with bars such as Amaya, Lupe Bar, Maximo Bistro, the Metro Toro, Nido, and Tachiyomi Desu, which sounds more like a Japanese bar, but that's quite a few bars that are serving natural wines. We'll have to see if Mexico City are going to be pushing it more, but it's starting. It's starting there. And on the final piece of news, which is probably the shortest piece of news as well, it's the EuroStar ban. That's not a ban on alcohol. There happens to be some ruling within the EuroStar, which is the train that travels from Britain through to Europe and Brussels, and as well as France in Paris. It's had a particular ruling where it stated that you weren't allowed to bring any wine or any alcohol on board, but in fact this was construed wrongly, as Eurostar made out that was actually only supposed to be for certain train trips and not for all of them. So you can actually take 2 bottles of wine, and you can enjoy a decent amount on the trains, but not overdoing it by like having 6 bottles open on a train. But the interesting thing with this piece of news is that I only found one piece of news sort of station that actually went back over it and then corrected what actually happened. The rest of the news outlets have just gone with EuroStar bans alcohol. It's great, isn't it? It's like that. Okay, that's all me from Some Cash. I will be hopefully releasing another one of my bar videos soon. But before that, click here for more videos. Click here to subscribe. And I'll see you soon.